Greetings everyone, thank you for coming to my channel. In this video you'll be learning about intensive pronouns. So for starters, intensive pronouns place emphasis on the subject of the sentence, but they're not essential to understanding the sentence. For our singular intensive pronouns, we have myself, yourself, himself, herself, and itself. And for our plural intensive pronouns, we have ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. Intensive pronouns in sentences. So example 1 says she took out the trash herself without asking for help. So as you can see, we're placing emphasis on herself. Like she took out the trash herself and didn't ask for help. Also remember, intensive pronouns are not essential to understanding the sentence. So we could also read this sentence as she took out the trash without asking for help, and it would still make sense. Example 2 says I cleaned the room myself. So this sentence is emphasizing how I cleaned the room myself. So remember, intensive pronouns are not essential to understanding the sentence. So we could also read this sentence as I cleaned the room, and it would still make sense. Example 3 says he solved the problem himself and didn't ask for help. So notice how we're placing emphasis on how he solved the problem himself. He didn't just solve the problem, he solved it himself, and he didn't ask for help. Remember, intensive pronouns are not essential to understanding the sentence. So we could also read this sentence as he solved the problem and didn't ask for help, and notice how it would still make sense. A lot of people get intensive pronouns confused with reflexive pronouns. With reflexive pronouns, the subject and object are the same person. The action is directed back onto the subject, and reflexive pronouns are essential to understanding the meaning of the sentence. What helped me understand the difference between intensive pronouns and reflexive pronouns is how intensive pronouns are not essential to understanding the meaning of the sentence, while reflexive pronouns are essential to understanding the meaning of the sentence. Reflexive pronouns look exactly like intensive pronouns. Their uses are different though. So our singular reflexive pronouns are myself, yourself, himself, herself, and itself. And our plural reflexive pronouns are ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. Reflexive pronouns in sentences. So example 1 says I bought myself a new car. So notice how I is the subject pronoun. So I am doing the action, and myself is the object pronoun, also the reflexive pronoun. Myself is the object pronoun because the action, which is bought, is being done to myself. So I is the subject pronoun because I am doing the action, and myself is the object pronoun because myself is receiving the action. And also notice how the subject and the object are the same person. I almost forgot to mention, don't forget that reflexive pronouns are essential to understanding the meaning of the sentence. So if I took out myself, the sentence would say, I bought a new car. So that wouldn't have the same meaning as I bought myself a new car, because if we're saying I bought myself a new car, we're specifying that I bought it for myself. But if we're saying I bought a new car, we're not specifying whom the car was bought for. Okay, so example 2 says he hurt himself at work. So notice how he is the subject pronoun because he is doing the action, and himself is the object pronoun because himself is receiving the action. In other words, the subject and the object are the same person. And don't forget that reflexive pronouns are essential to understanding the meaning of the sentence. So if we took out himself, the sentence would say he hurt at work, and clearly that wouldn't make any sense. Example 3 says they took themselves to the event. As you can see, they is the subject pronoun and themselves is the object pronoun because themselves are receiving the action while they are doing the action. So the subject and the object are the same people. And because reflexive pronouns are essential to understanding the meaning of the sentence, this sentence wouldn't make sense if we took out themselves. It would say, they took to the event. And obviously, that doesn't make sense. So we need to make sure that we include the reflexive pronoun. And I discussed subject pronouns a little bit in some of the other slides, but I can always discuss it more. So subject pronouns do the action, while reflexive pronouns reflect the action back to the subject. So example 1 says, I hit myself. So as you can see, I is the subject pronoun because I'm doing the action, I'm doing the hitting, and then myself is the object because myself is being hit. Myself is receiving the action. Example 2 says she cut herself on accident. So as you can see, she is the subject pronoun because she is doing the action, she is doing the cutting. And herself is the object pronoun because herself is receiving the action. Herself is being cut. Example 3 says he is pinching himself. So he is the subject pronoun because he is doing the action. He is doing the pinching, while himself is the object pronoun because himself is being pinched. Remember, reflexive pronouns reflect back on the subject and also act as objects, while intensive pronouns add emphasis. Both end in self or selves. So yeah, I'm just going to leave you guys with a few things before I get going. Once I started understanding the difference between subjects and objects, I feel like that made my grammar life so much easier. But yeah, at first I kept on asking myself, like, what the heck is an object? I don't get this. But once I learned how to identify a subject in a sentence, understanding objects started like getting way easier. So the subject, of course, is a person or thing that's doing the action, while the object is just the person or thing that the action is being done to. So it's like if the sentence says, I kicked him, like obviously I'm the one doing the kicking, so that makes me the subject, and he's the one being kicked, so that makes him the object. I think it was just confusing because when I learned about objects, a lot of the definitions were saying that the object is the recipient of the action, and I'm like, what? The recipient of the action? And then I saw another definition that said that the object is the person that the action's being done to, or the person that's receiving the action, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, understanding subjects and objects will definitely help you understand reflexive pronouns better. And then intensive pronouns are just adding emphasis. So that one is pretty easy to understand. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope that you guys found this video informative. If you did find this video informative, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe, or all of the above, and I'll see you next time.